We're now going to create a part called P8-11, and again this is going to be part of the project called First. This is where we left off with the first project, creating the part called P8-10, and then we created the drawing sheet for it. If you look here across the bottom of Inventor, you can see all of the things that are open. There's the part, and there's the drawing for P8-10. The project is still active because we still have them open. If you're coming back to a new day, make sure that you have checked your active project. You check the active project by clicking on My Home here at the bottom, and notice that the project called First is highlighted. Alright, so doesn't matter what you're looking at. Let's go ahead and go to New up here and Part. The last part we created was already an English Standard IN IPT part, so this will also be the same. We're going to create a new sketch, and we're going to start on the front view just like before, which is this XY plane. Alright, very smart to always start your part so that something is created on the origin 0, 0, 0. So since this has a circle that sort of is the main thing in this part, I'm going to create this circle right there. There's the origin 0, 0, 0. I'm going to create a circle. Once again, you can simply just doodle the circle and then constrain it later if you want to. The inner circle is 1.25 and the outer circle is 2. Go ahead and make the big one the proper size. Notice again the purple color when something is completely constrained. Clicking on Dimension, making the smaller circle 1.25. Okay. I'm going to finish the sketch, and again make sure that you've constrained that to 0, 0, 0. If not, you can edit the sketch. So instead of creating a new sketch, if you want to edit an old sketch, double click on it here in the browser. And if it's not, you can simply use the coincident constraint here to constrain the center of the circle to the origin 0, 0, 0. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to extrude it. And the distance of the extrusion is 2.50. Okay, very important. I'm going to call your attention to this. Notice that the problem is given with 2 digits after the decimal as our precision. So we're going to stick with that. Later on, we're going to do a problem where we must edit that to make it more precise. So now we have this cylinder created with a hole in it, and we need to create this sort of a heart-shaped piece here. Need to create that on the original back plane, the X, Y plane. So I'm going to turn it on so I can see it. Turn it on by turning the visibility on. All I did was right click on that and check visibility. Now I'm going to create a new sketch on that same plane, and let's see, first I will create the circles. As you see, we have basically 2 circles here and then a tangent line that connects those. The outer circle is a radius of 0.75, the inner circle diameter of 0.5. I'm going to, since it's creating it by its diameter, let's see if I can change it to radius. Yes, I can click on radius here and now type 0.75. So again, in review, when I was dragging the circle, I right clicked and that allowed me to change it to creating by radius as opposed to diameter. Now I need to create a line tangent. Making sure that I don't get any other O-snaps. Or if I drag it, notice the tangent symbol that happens right there. That little circle with the line over top. It does need to be tangent. I'm going to create this as tangent. So I'm going to click on tangent, click on the what stays and what changes. Alright, so now that is tangent. Once I've done that, I need to dimension some locations of those circles. The height is 2.5 above the center there. So from this center to this center is 2.5. The distance between them, I'm going to use the mirror function to make the other half of this. The distance between them is 2, so I need to make a center line first. So I'm going to grab line, and then over here there is a option to change it to center line. Click on that and draw a center line, some arbitrary length. Now dimension the distance between the center of this circle and that center line. Notice when it's a center line and you dimension it, it gives you double the distance, and that distance should be 2. Alright, with that done, I am going to, let's check. Yeah, that's good. Let's check the, let's mirror this now. There's a function up here in the pattern section called mirror. Pick what you want to mirror to the other side, which would be this circle, and this tangent line. That's in the select sections. Now I'm going to select the mirror by clicking there and clicking on the mirror. And I click apply. And that makes the other side. Now I need to create a tangent curve in here. So I'm going to grab, I clicked on done for the mirror function. Now I'm going to grab arc and draw an arc in here. I'm deliberately making it not correct so that I have to constrain it. So I'm going to click on tangent, click on the permanent, click on what changes. Permanent and what changes. So now that arc is tangent to those circles. I now need to dimension the radius of that. And that radius should be 2.5. Okay, hitting escape to get out of the dimension function. I need to trim this. Grab the trim tool. Checking that against the picture. That looks pretty good. Now we need to create this thing here, which is called a web. We have the holes. Oh, let's extrude it. Okay, so let's finish the sketch. When we extrude this, we want to make sure it goes in the same direction as the cylinder. And the thickness of the extrusion should be 0.75. Okay, it appears to not find the geometry, and that's because it's not a closed piece of geometry. So the extrusion is not working correctly. I'm going to hit X here to stop the extrusion. Then I'm going to edit this sketch to close in the geometry. Double click on Sketch 2. When I'm here, I'm going to hit F7 on the keyboard, which cuts away the rest of the geometry. And then I'm going to grab arc, click on this endpoint and this endpoint, and then match it to the yellow circle that you see there. Notice now the entire piece of geometry is purple. Most likely the extrusion will function properly this time. Hit Finish Sketch and Extrude. Notice now it sees the geometry and is attempting to extrude it. The distance of the extrusion, once again, is 0.75. Some problem happened there. Let's fix that. Here's the problem. The extrusion method, so this was popped up and I double clicked on extrusion 2 to edit it to solve the problem. I'm leaving this in the video so that when things don't go perfectly for you, you can figure out ways to fix it. It's still trying to extrude as a cut, which was what you do to make a hole. In this case, it's not supposed to be a cut, it should be a solid or a join. So I click on that option there. Keep the distance at 0.75. Let's see if this fixes it. And it does. All right, as you can see, with the exception of the web here, which is this diagonal piece, we're almost finished. To make the web, I need to create a sketch on the center plane. So I'm going to turn this XY plane off by right-clicking on it and turning off visibility. And then I'm going to find this plane that cuts through the center of the part here and right click on it and turn its visibility on. So now I have this plane that bisects the entire part. I'm going to create a sketch on that plane, and to make this a little easier, I'm going to hit the F7 key on the keyboard, which will cut away the front half of it. Makes it a little easier. Now I'm going to draw a line, and deliberately I need to connect it here and to here. In order to do that, I need to project some geometry first, so I'm going to click on Project Geometry. Let's look at the right side, and I'm going to click on this line, so that I have a good vertical line and a good horizontal line to make my diagonal. Now notice there are some other objects because of the hole that penetrates the part. It may find a center line there, it may find some other object snaps. We want to avoid those deliberately. All we want is to go from this vertical to this horizontal. So deliberately, I'm going to draw from this line somewhere very low to this horizontal line here. If you draw it up too high and it finds the center of this hole, it may snap into place, which could keep you from being able to change it. Alright, once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and dimension the height from this point here to the center of the circle, and that distance should be 2.5. Then I'm going to dimension from the face here to the top or the outside edge of the web. So from this line to this endpoint. Doesn't matter where you put the dimensions because they don't actually show up in the drawing. That distance should be 1.25. Alright, notice how that is now purple. And I'm going to create a line using the O-snaps so that I have a complete piece of closed geometry. Finish the sketch. Now I'm going to extrude this. Now notice it wants to extrude it unilaterally towards me in this single axis. We have an option here in the extrude options to extrude it symmetrically. Click on that. So that will extrude half of it on one side of the plane and half on the other side of the plane. The entire thickness of that extrusion should be 0.5. So change the thickness to 0.5. It doesn't matter which one of these you use. This one is more detailed. That's why when I expanded it, I left it there. So now we have the web. So that would be the entire part, P8-11, and we need to go about creating our drawing and dimensioning it. So I'm going to save this part. Notice because we're using the project manager in Inventor, it is putting everything we create in the same folder called First, which is our project folder. This one should be called P8-11. Once that's created, let's create our drawing. Actually, we already have our drawing started, and that's the drawing called First. So if you have it closed, please go to Open and open the first drawing. If you left it open from before, then just navigate to it here. Alright. Once we're here, I'm going to create a new sheet. I'm going to right click on First Drawing, right up here at the top where it says First Drawing, and click New Sheet. When I create the new sheet, it keeps all of the stuff from the title block from before. I need to edit the title block because instead of this saying P8-10, it should say First. So I'm going to go here and go to I Properties and Summary. The title should say First. Remember, in engineering design, we keep our cap locks on. Alright, that changes that. Now this text where it says drawing number, it says P8-10 also. That came from the same place. Let's go ahead and edit that. Okay. We can add additional text. For example, right next to First, I could add the text that says P8-11. And likewise on the first sheet, I can do the same thing to change it to say P8-10. Right, to go back to the other sheet, I can simply hit Escape and double click on Sheet 1 and add the accompanying text. As you can see, it adds it there. Go back to Sheet 2. Notice that this is a B-size drawing because I created it as a second sheet in the same drawing, and we already edited the sheet to be B-size paper. Let's go ahead and put in the view by going to Place Views and Base. Should be the front view. It's set at 1/2 scale. We may be able to create this one a little bigger. Let's go to 1:1. Place the view here. Once that's there, let's go to Project and create our right view. Likewise, you can create an isometric and then click on Create. Click on Project. Click that view. place it, then click on Create. I forgot to place the view. Now this view is a little too high, it's crossing the border, so I'm just going to simply take it and drag it down inside. Okay, so we have all of our views. Notice that this one has a hidden line here, whereas the problem does not have a hidden line there. That hidden line is due to this curve right here. That's what's creating that hidden line. So technically that should be there. Let's go ahead and start annotating this thing with center marks first. Click on your largest circle. For this you need to click on the largest arc and then the circle. Let's do centerline bisector here. And there. So now we've got the center line going through that hole. The center mark tool actually works in isometrics as well, unlike AutoCAD. So you can actually go here and put a center mark on an isometric image, which is pretty handy. Does not work so well in this case, as you can see. So I'm going to undo that by doing Control Z. We'll leave that one there. Alright, let's start dimensioning. My goal is to make it look like this picture. All annotation, as you see. Now this radius, as you can see, it's trying to get it all the way to its center, so I'm going to right click, go to Options, and select Jogged so that I can make that very short. I have the option of changing the text, which I do not need to do for this one. Dimension from this endpoint, this center mark to this center mark. Dimension this radius. And as you place it, we need to add the text 2 times in front of it. So I'm going to click in front of the text, space, and then type 2 capital X. Need to do the same for this diameter here. Notice how Inventor automatically makes this a radius because it is a part of a circle, and this a diameter because it is a full circle. If you do wish to change that, you can change that here by right clicking on it. Again, adding the text 2x, to capital X in front of the dimension. Need to dimension this thickness here. Again, notice I have 2 digits of precision here, and I'm sticking with that. From the end point of the center mark to the end point of the center mark here. That appears to be everything for the front view. Dimension to the outermost part there to get this. I hit escape because I need to edit this dimension. I grabbed it too far down in the drawing. I need to bring it all the way up to the end here. Doing so adds the gap between the extension and the object. Now I need to dimension the diameter of this cylinder on the rectangular view. And I need to add the diameter symbol in front. Okay, I believe that's everything there. I do notice a mistake created here. The actual part should, this web should extend into this cylinder here, and it does not. You can see a gap there. If you look on the isometric view, you can see that gap exists here. Well, it's a little hard to tell. So let's fix that. All right, even though we've already created the drawing, I'm going to go ahead and hit save just to make sure everything's saved. I'm going to go back to the part P8-11, which is here, and notice the gap between the cylinder and the web. What I'm going to do is edit that sketch that's inside of extrusion 3. So notice I clicked on this little arrow to open up extrusion 3, and then I'm going to double click on sketch 3. Just like before, I'm going to hit F7 to cut away the front. What I need to do is create a little rectangle for this geometry that goes inside the part. So I'm going to grab line, use that object snap, go vertical, some distance inside the part. Make sure not to protrude through the hole. Make sure it's perpendicular here. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to delete this line so that the geometry is all one continuous geometry. This is green because I need to put some dimension to lock that into place. Notice now I have a complete purple geometry. It's completely constrained. When I hit Finish Sketch, since it's part of Extrusion 3, it should automatically extrude it without having to re-extrude the part. Something did not work correctly. Let's double click. Hit F7. Perhaps it's this yellow line here, so I'm going to delete that. Let's undo that because we do need to keep that in order to extrude it. I think what I'll do is I'll draw a line here, deliberately keeping that line to separate the triangle from the rectangle. See what happens. Okay, still has the gap, but what I'm going to do now is double click on Extrusion 3 and see if I can find, click on Profile and see if I can find that rectangle. Notice how when I found the rectangle, I just sort of, let's show you what I did. That might have been too fast. So I'm going to finish the sketch. It still has the gap. What I'm going to do is double click on Extrusion 3 here, which allows me to edit the extrusion. And I need to pick that rectangle as part of the profile. It's a little hard to see, but the gap is still there. You can see that shadow over the cylinder. I'm going to click on Profile on this arrow here and then hover until I see that rectangle that's underneath it light up. You can kind of see it lighting up inside the shape there. I'm going to click on that, and now you notice it created a solid there where that was empty. I'm going to click on Check to keep that extrusion. Once I've fixed the web to have that little piece added, I'm going to go ahead and save the part. Clicking on Save. Now I'm going to go back to the drawing. Notice that even though I wasn't actually working on the drawing, I was working on the part. Because the part is in the drawing, it created that geometry there. You'll notice also here on the right side view that it's extended now lower than this line where it was before, as well as if I zoom into the isometric view, I'll see the extension here. So once again, because of the project manager of Inventor, it links all of the parts together of a particular project. So when you make a change on one, that change is universal. Okay, so that should be everything for the drawing for P8-11. At this point, I'll go ahead and save it. Everything is saved, and we're going to go ahead and print the 2 pages. the first page was P8-10 and the second page P8-11. I'm going to go back to hover over print here and go to print setup just to verify that this still says 11 by 17. We did set that before. Keep in mind you need to do that before you print. Otherwise it may try to put one size print on another size paper. Then we'll go to print, click on it. It should already say CP5225 or whatever the printer is at this time. The model should say 1:1 like that, and right now it says current sheet, but because we have two sheets and I want to print both of them at the same time, I'm going to click on all sheets. So in doing so, it'll print page 1 and page 2. Then if I hit preview, you should be able to see them both. Now I click on print and OK. This will come out on the larger 11 by 17 paper. When you get it printed, hole punch the left side, which will be this side. Put this in the hole puncher and hole punch this side of the two sheets. Put this in your binder, close the metal rings. Once the metal rings are closed, then fold the paper in to meet the metal rings. If you need clarification on that, please bring your notebook up with your paper and I'll help you make that happen. Alright. Let's make PDFs of this also. Alright, so go to File and Export. Right here it says PDF. Alright. It assumes that you want to call it the same thing, which was first, and it's going to put it in the same folder. Click on Options here. Make sure you do all sheets, and then click OK and save. Alright, so now it makes one single PDF file that has both pages. By rolling the mouse, you can see both items. Alright, that's it for the first project. Thank you very much.